So this is going to be the intro video for doing different demonstrations for cheating techniques with the spirit that this is for hosts, for other players, people who are sitting games and trying to figure out, like, am I being cheated, what to look for. I found that people who play cards and who've never thought about cheating can't even conceive of some of the ways that people actually cheat. So this first thing is just kind of start making you skeptical of the cards, the chips, the players, the way they do things, why do they do things. It's gonna be pretty short, but just to kind of start, get you thinking that way, and then I'm gonna move inside and use a table and kind of show a little bit more technique. But, you know, and we're also gonna break this down into a couple different series, or a couple different sections. Some of it's gonna be for like home games where there's a pass the deal. Some of it is gonna be for casino games where, you know, the players might not ever shuffle the cards, but they still interact with the cards in some sort of way, and, you know, showing different ways, that different techniques of how to mark the deck, how to be aware of what cards are coming out. We're going to do some things that are more skill based, you know, things that are like bottom dealing, and I think most people, when they think of cheating, they're like, oh, it's, you know, there's bottom dealing, oh, it's a, you know, a crooked dealer. But those also take years of practice. There's a lot of other ways to cheat that don't take that much skill. There's ways to mark a deck that are really straightforward that you could do in a casino. And yeah, when the dealer change happens or whatever, you might have to remark new cards or whatever, but people can get an idea of what cards are coming out. You know, and really the other big thing that I think people think about with cheats is that they're like, oh, if they cheat, they're going to win these huge pots or whatever. Most cheats are only trying to try to give themselves a small edge. They might already be good poker players. They're just trying to get a little edge on the people they're playing against. I want to start with some ideas here that are just to kind of get you out of that comfort zone. So the first thing I'm going to say is decks of cards. People oftentimes will think that, you know, that you get a deck of cards, it's wrapped in cellophane. You see them, you know, you see people open it at the table. You see, you know, dealers open it. And now this is paper cards, but this can be for plastic, can be for anything. There is a seal on here. The seal is not broken. This is a true ungimmicked deck of cards. And, you know, they pull out the deck of cards and there's those advertising cards and stuff. I'm gonna try to lower this so you guys don't think there's any deck switches or anything going on here. But the idea that there's cards in here, and that they take the top and the bottom, they show the cards. Now, if you guys remember, when I took this card out of the box, I took it out of a red box. But this whole deck is actually a blue deck. And the point of me showing that is, you might think that there is a cellophane wrapped deck of cards that is pristine and good shape, but there are ways to tamper with a deck of cards that people don't think about. So again, another case here is a, you know, normal rider back deck of cards. This is not a gimmicked deck. There's no markings, no nothing on here. You can actually probably throw this on the table. People can open it. You know, another player could open it, crack this thing open. Come on. But this is a truly sealed deck of cards. Truly, it's truly got the brand seal here on it. Take this thing out. There's jokers, there's whatever. But the thing that but here's what I wanted to show you is that in this deck, I put in two red cards into a blue deck. My point, though, is more that a sealed deck of cards can still be tampered with. You could have marked cards in here. You know, it might be a regular looking box. Again, this thing could probably pass inspection. The top of the box isn't the only way to open up a box of cards. And so once you get into a deck of cards, again, you can have marked cards, you can have, and marked cards don't always just mean that, hey, there's little things on the back that tell you what the cards are. There could be, you know, different writing or nicks or marks or blemishes on the cards. There can be pencil marks or other, you know, really minute little things on the back of the cards. But once you get a deck of cards into the game that has some sort of, especially home games where guys only, you know, switch out the decks, you know, once or twice a night, even if it's 2 decks and the cheat only knows the contents of 1 deck, there's a lot you can do with it. So that's just kind of the intro, the idea that, you know, once you start thinking like a cheater, once you start thinking of like all the different ways that you could get little edges, then it's going to change what you're looking at, or how I think the host or other players might start looking at that game. In high school, I would do magic and I would perform, and I was being hired at different places, amusement parks and stuff like that, different corporate events. But I also still loved cards and I loved playing. So then I started playing poker with my friends. Never cheated, but I was aware of how you could, and sometimes I do poker demonstrations or dealing demonstrations or whatever for my friends, and everybody would make the same joke, like, oh, we're not going to let you deal, blah, blah, blah. And I'd always say the same thing to them, which was, I don't have to deal to still cheat. I can still do stuff to the deck, mark the deck in certain ways so that I know what the cards are, at least know a couple of the cards. If I, like, small example, if I know where the 4 aces are on the deck at all times, or at least have a good idea where they are, you're not going to say that's some sort of advantage, you know, over the course of a night of playing poker. And so as I got better with magic, and as I started learning more gambling demonstrations, I also started learning how people cheat, and, you know, using some of those techniques in my show, but also just being aware of, like, if I'm out playing cards and I'm watching other people maybe using some of these techniques, it was like, oh, I can protect myself, protect the table, protect the host, whatever. And I'm very big on protecting the integrity of the game. I don't care if that means that I lose a hand. You know, if cards play and everybody thinks that I won a hand, but we somehow miss that this guy actually had, you know, whatever. Somehow this guy won the hand even though I'm being pushed the pot. To me, that's still like, no, that's not right. That's cards read, push this guy to the pot. And I think all poker players kind of say, like, well, yeah, that's the way the game should be played. But cheaters don't think that. Cheaters are like, yeah, whatever edge I can get, push me the chips, let's move on with it, and if I get caught, then I'll apologize later. And so I think just kind of getting that shift in people's heads is like the first way to make people aware of what to look for at a card table. I hope that this is entertaining. I hope this is insightful. I hope that this provides some sort of conversation where you guys can say, like, hey, is this possible? Or, hey, can people do this? And I'm happy to address a lot of that stuff. I don't think that I'm the best at all this stuff. I do think that I see it in a different light than I think most players see it. And when I talk to other players about cheating, there's things where they're like, wow, I didn't even think that was possible, or I didn't even conceive of that. And that was stuff that because of my magic background, that I just am constantly on the lookout for, or thinking about, or it's kind of second nature. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm gonna, over the next couple weeks, kind of show you guys some techniques that I have either seen, heard of, that maybe I haven't seen or heard of actually in practice, but I'm aware of it. Some of the stuff is going to be skill-based, you know, like marking cards or bottom deals or that kind of stuff. Some of it is going to be more technology-based. Some of it's going to be like, wearing certain contacts or glasses so you can see what the cards are. You know, if you're playing with a group of friends and it's all people that you know, I don't think you need to worry about cheating. I think most casinos, you don't actually have to worry about cheating. But I also know that I've been in situations where players have cheated other players in the casinos, or they've stolen money off their stacks, or they've done things. And the casino, the only thing the casino is willing to do at that point is ban the player. Because you're not stealing, the person who stole money or the person who cheated didn't cheat the casino. So the casino doesn't really care, and they really don't want the negative publicity. If there's a casino that all of a sudden is known for having a bunch of cheaters, you're probably not going to go there. So the casino doesn't want that negative PR getting out there. And it's really on the players to kind of keep an eye out. So I'm hoping that I can show you guys some stuff that maybe you haven't thought of before, or maybe that you just weren't aware of how easy it was, or what to look for. And yeah, so we'll move inside. I'm going to set up a table and start doing a little bit of stuff here. This first video is going to be pretty quick. I don't want it to be too long, but then we're going to get into different ways over the next couple weeks that cheating happens. So yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, we're going to start with a couple just kind of fun demonstrations to show kind of how cards work, how maybe cheating could work, or kind of get you out of that mental space of what you normally think of with cards, like, oh, if they're shuffled, that means, you know, if I saw that person shuffle, that means the cards are mixed. Well, are they really? So we've got a deck of cards here that's pretty mixed up. We're gonna do a pretty cool demonstration here that I think is very valuable for a lot of people who are getting into Magic or getting into the world of like poker cheating or understanding how cards work. I think this is pretty powerful. So I give this deck 2 shuffles. Those are true shuffles. They actually go into each other. I should have showed it a little bit slower, but my point is that even by doing some shuffles, what I was able to do is put the deck into order. Ace through king, ace through king, king through ace, king through ace. This is a brand new deck setup. If you were to open any bicycle deck or any standard deck of cards, this is pretty much the deck, the way that it comes out. And I did that with a couple shuffles. Now, I think most people think that they have to be false shuffles in order to, you know, have the deck do something or keep the order of the deck. But even doing true shuffles, you can manipulate the deck. So from here, now that we have a deck that's in new order, I can do some interesting things. Okay, we're gonna get into some of these false shuffles, false cuts, things that, you know, you might see people do. We're gonna do full deck control type shuffles, and then we're gonna get into stack controls, which maybe you only want to control, you know, 3 or 4 cards or something, and that's, you know, those 3 or 4 cards are considered a stack. So I'm just gonna show you a small demonstration. You know, you're gonna see guys when they do the casino wash do these huge big spreads and mix all the cards up and stuff, and you know, and that's totally fine if what we're trying to do is contain just a stack of cards. But what I'm trying to do right now is show you how the whole deck can be manipulated by doing a couple cuts and shuffles and washes and still maintain the order of the deck. Now, we could do a smaller example where if I'm only trying to keep track of, you know, maybe one card, maybe like the Ace of Spades, all of a sudden the wash can be a lot crazier, and it looks like I'm, you know, going absolutely ballistic with all this. But if you'll notice, there's something a little, I don't know, fishy about the way I did the wash. This card, I would always keep on my thumb. And so now, you know, as long as I know where it's at in the wash, I can use it to gather the cards underneath the deck. And it doesn't matter what I do with the rest of the cards as long as I know where that Ace of Spades is. There's also different ways that we can control shuffles. I'm going to switch to another deck of cards here so that I can show you some other like types of shuffles that people might use in home games. In home games, you'll see a lot of this kind of stuff where guys are, you know, doing this overhand shuffle, mixing cards into each other, and you know, and that's great. You know, they can, that does actually kind of mix the cards. Sometimes, but it's a real easy way to manipulate the cards so they still actually stay in order. Bunch of different types of shuffles that we're going to go through. Table shuffles, in the hand shuffles, these overhand shuffles. And not only can you use these to do false shuffles, you can also use these to stack the deck. So here's a really straightforward gambling demonstration. This is not something that you obviously run into this situation in the home game because people aren't going to pull the aces out and then, you know, put them in the deck. But here's the idea, just to show that, you know, you have the 4 aces lost in the deck. You do some shuffles. You do a table shuffle here, and this is a legit, you know, shuffled deck. Now again, this is one of those where you can, you know, cut the cards as it were. But let's say we're having a heads-up game of poker. I can give myself 2 aces. From here, we can, you know, just kind of keep pounding the hammer. I can give myself 4 aces. It's a, you know, obviously you got to make sure the other person has something, has a pair of 10s or something like that. But just to show that, like, you know, you can control the aces even after you shuffle and cut and whatever. Again, very rudimentary, but just a straightforward way of kind of saying, hey, there's different ways to track the aces or control the aces, and even after shuffles and stuff. You can take the aces, put them in the deck, shuffle the deck, and these are legitimate shuffles. I'll show you here in a second. Let's do it one more time so you can actually see that these are, legitimate shuffles. Cards are actually going into each other. And not undoing the shuffle or anything. These are actual real shuffles, but it's controlling where the aces are going. So now the aces are set up to be dealt to a four-handed game of poker. Again, no limit hold'em being the most obvious, at least the most popular card game currently. This can be done for draw poker. This can be done for anything. But the idea that I give myself the aces, burn, flop, turn, river. Again, give myself 4 aces. I don't know if you can see that on camera. And the other thing that you got to realize is, like, you guys watching this, you might be, you could slow it down. You could be like, oh, well, that's how he does this thing, and he does it that way, and whatever. And yeah, you could catch it. But at a card game, when we're talking and drinking and having fun, these are all things that might, gosh, like, you don't have to be that good as long as your misdirection's good, as long as you're looking up and talking to other people and stuff. I could do whatever I want with this hand. If I'm talking to other people and like, oh, hey man, toss me that drink, and I'm, doing something over here, or hey, hey, is that pot right? Just all these little things that could happen. There's different types of palms, different types of things where I could, 6 of diamonds in the middle of the deck, and bring that 6 of diamonds up to the top. So like if it was an ace and I knew I needed to get it, a way I could possibly do that. One of the big ones is like, if my partner and I are playing and I have 2 cards and I want to switch out a card with him, and there's certain switches that can happen, I got ace-6 here. Ace-6 isn't gonna be the greatest hand in the world, but let's say that somebody splashes the pot over there, and it's like, hey man, hey, be careful when you're splashing the pot, don't do that. And drop a card off, so suddenly I've got pocket aces. There's different ways that, like, the big movement of reaching over here hides the smaller movement of switching out these cards. Again, for demonstration purposes, I'm not super worried about, like, my angles here. I don't care if you guys necessarily catch me or see it and be like, oh, well, he did that, and that's not, obviously that's how it's done. My point is that in a live card game, there's a lot of distractions. So I hope you guys enjoy some of these demonstrations. Obviously, please don't take this as me showing you how to cheat. This is not meant to be stuff that you guys take to a game and be like, oh man, George showed me how to do this, blah, blah, blah. All I'm trying to do is show examples of what to be on the lookout for when you're actually at a table. And if you see somebody doing certain things, like, oh, maybe they did this thing or whatever. Obviously, if you're in a situation like this, where a 6-handed game of poker, and all of a sudden everybody hits the board, this probably isn't on the up and up. I'm just gonna say, if I get a royal flush here and everybody else loses all their money to me, that's kind of a dead giveaway. Most times when people are cheating, it's gonna be in minute ways. It's gonna be in 1 or 2 hands a night where it's like, oh, that guy folded here or called here. How did he know that was what I had? And cheaters, for the most part, only get caught when they keep doing it or when they're doing it in really high-profile situations. Mike Postle probably could have got away with it a lot more if he didn't win every single time he was on the stream. There's other cheaters out there who, if they cheated, once a month, might not get caught. So all I'm trying to do is just show you guys a little bit of, what to look for, and how to keep an eye out for it. So, okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.